So if we had to say which place we like the most, we'll probably have to give that to Shalom YouTube family, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the family.
In today's video, we'll be discussing some differences between Dar es Salaam and Mombasa and letting you guys know which one we like best.
Also on this channel, we'll be traveling throughout the continent to show you the real Africa.
So if you like this type of content, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. The first thing we're gonna discuss is security. So when we were in Dar es Salaam, there were definitely a lot of security measures. If you went to public places, there was typically some type of security guard, metal detector, things like that. They might pat you down. When we used to go to the mall, they actually would take this like mirror on a stick and like walk around the car and like look under the car. And they do a lot of similar things here. So I would say, in that respect, I felt very safe in both places. They both definitely had security on point. Yeah,
and I think the reason behind that is the terrorist attacks. We heard both in Tanzania and in Kenya that around the same time there were terrorist attacks, and they upped their security after that. So that makes sense in that they're neighboring countries and having similar events. Also, when it comes to security, we felt safe in both places as far as crime is concerned. I know there's petty crimes in both places, pickpocketing, and you might get some occasional robbers and stuff like that. But overall, both places we felt very comfortable in. But if we had to give it to one, we'd just say they both get a point for that one.
The next thing we're gonna talk about is the scenery. So for the cities, they both look pretty similar, you know, all of the buildings and stuff. There's not too much difference, but definitely they both have beaches and all of that. But we would say that Mombasa kind of had a leg up on that one because the beaches were definitely cleaner and there was more to do. Like, they weren't perfectly clean in Mombasa, but there was definitely more like trash in Dar es Salaam, like plastic bottles and things like that, than we saw in Mombasa for sure.
I would say, as far as the city is concerned, Dar es Salaam is probably a little bit more modern than it is in Mombasa, for the simple fact that it doesn't look as old in the city. But not saying that Mombasa is not great also. It just, I feel like Dar es Salaam is just a tad bit more modern when it comes to that aspect.
So overall, for the scenery, we're gonna have to give it to Mombasa, but it was close. Next on the list is cost of living. So let's start with rides. So obviously we have Uber and Bolt. We took both in both places. Well, Uber was a hot mess in Mombasa, so we didn't really use it as much.
It was very expensive.
It was very expensive. In Dar es Salaam, it was significantly cheaper. Like for like a couple dollars, you could go pretty far from Uber in Dar. But in Mombasa, it wasn't the same. And then we looked at Bolt. Bolt had higher prices as well. And it wasn't it's easy to use either. It was easier to just grab a tuk-tuk on the side of the road.
Yeah. And even with the tuk-tuks, I feel like the tuk-tuks and what they call them bajajis in Dar es Salaam was also cheaper. And then when you look at food, also the food in Dar es Salaam is cheaper, especially when you're going to like local markets. We went to local markets in both places, and the local markets in Dar es Salaam was for sure a lot cheaper.
And then there's the Airbnbs. So in Mombasa, it was definitely more expensive. We did stay like a month straight at like the last time, or no, 2 weeks straight the last time we went to Dar, but it was still significantly cheaper. We only stayed a few days in the place in Mombasa, and it actually cost probably about half of what it cost us to stay 2 whole weeks in Dar, so it was significantly more expensive.
Dar es Salaam, when it comes to Airbnbs, are great prices. Like on one of our videos, we said that we stayed in a place for $17 a day, and it was 3 bedrooms, sky up in like 26th floor or something like, it was like something very high up. And it just overall was a great deal. So I feel like you get more of a bang for your buck in Dar es Salaam when it comes to housing too.
So for cost of living, we're gonna have to go with Dar because it's cheaper. You gotta love whichever one is cheaper.
Sure.
Next up, we're gonna discuss the food. So local food in both places, which Swahili food, I guess it will be considered. They're similar.
Very similar.
Very similar, especially like in Mombasa. Everything is more similar to Dar than it is, say, in Nairobi.
Yeah.
But I would say when it comes down to cooking as a whole, I do think there's more flavor in the food in Dar.
Yeah, and I feel like they have more options in Dar when it comes to local food. For example, we love breakfast foods, right? So in Dar es Salaam, they had things like mdori, with chapati. They had just stews and different things that I feel like it was more accessible to get, and it tastes a little bit better to us for sure. And then the grocery stores, I would say that Dar es Salaam probably had a little bit more, especially when you go into somewhere like the malls and stuff like that. They have very, very nice grocery stores. Pretty much everything you can get. Now, we went to Nali City Mall and they had a grocery store in there, which was very great, but I feel like they probably just had a little bit less and it was a little bit smaller.
And to also still comparing it to like Shoppers and like Milmani and Dar, because it's still a grocery store in a mall.
Yeah.
So not comparing like a standalone grocery store that's a huge grocery store or something to like a small mall grocery store. So overall, I guess Dar is taking that one again.
Yeah.
Next up, we're gonna talk about weather.
Yep.
So this one is so crazy because they are very much similar because they're both, coastal and all that. They're very similar. But I would say they're both hot. Like I got a good little sunburn in Mombasa. They're both really hot, but I would say the breeze is cooler in Mombasa, and just like even being on the beach, like on a hot day, in Dar, it was still hot. Like there was a breeze, but I feel like the breeze coming through was warmer. And in Mombasa, the breeze is cooler. So when you're out, it's more of a comfortable feel because it's not really, really hot because the breeze is so much colder.
Now, I would say the time that we're in Mombasa, it probably rained every other day. And I don't know if it's rainy season, but it wasn't for a very long stint.
It was like a drizzle in the morning, typically. There was like a drizzle and then it was like good the rest of the day.
I feel like when it's not rainy season in Dar es Salaam, it just doesn't rain as much. And even there's droughts, and it can be a problem having those droughts of water and stuff like that.
So the last thing we're gonna talk about is entertainment. So in both places, they had a lot of similarities, like the beaches and stuff. That's the main thing that people probably wanna go do when you go out there. And they both had, guys offering boat rides and, trips to see this, that, and the other. So that was pretty good in both places.
I think we did probably a little bit more entertainment in Mombasa, like we did the Fort Jesus and stuff like that. And we seen that they had a little more things that we didn't get a chance to do. But I would say what sets it apart from Dar es Salaam would be what you can do on the beaches. For example, we did the jet skis, camel riding. They got boat, you can go out on a boat, do snorkeling and things like that, which we didn't see all of that in Dar es Salaam.
They had some of that stuff in Dar, but not just like right there on the beach. Like you could schedule or something, but they didn't necessarily have camels and stuff on the beach and all of that stuff to where you could just do that right there.
Yeah. So overall, we will have to say when it comes to entertainment, Mombasa wins that one. And so now, guys, it's time to pick a winner. So if we had to say which place we like the most, we'll probably have to give that to Mombasa.
Right. And
And the reason behind that is Mombasa just kind of fit our lifestyle. It's a little bit better. It's a little more to do. And I feel like it was a vibe altogether. Now
it was a nice, calm, peaceful vibe. It was nice.
Yeah. I would say Dar es Salaam is more hustle and bustle, even though it is like a coastal area. It's more business oriented, which is not a bad thing. But for us, we just like to be more low key and ducked out. So with that being said, family, we just want to say thank you for watching us all the way through, and we love you. And as always, shalom.
Shalom.